Embrace values-based spending to align financial habits with personal values and goals, fostering financial well-being and satisfaction. Begin with self-reflection to understand your core values, identifying what truly brings joy and fulfillment. Align spending with long-term goals, resisting impulse buys and societal pressures, focusing instead on what matters most to you. Adopt conscious decision-making for financial choice, evaluating its alignment with your values and needs. Cultivate gratitude for what you have, reducing unnecessary spending and fostering contentment. Implement values-based spending by crafting a budget prioritizing expenses that reflect your personal values while minimizing lesser ones. Utilize budgeting tools for consistent tracking, ensuring alignment with your life's goals. Save intentionally, directing funds towards ethical investments or causes resonating with your values. Before purchasing, pause and reflect on the item's contribution to your long-term happiness. By integrating these practices, transition your financial activities into sources of joy and purpose, leading to a more intentional, fulfilling life.
Amanda, intellectually, we know what we need to do, spend less than what we make. But money decisions are often based on feeling. What stands between us and finding joy in making financial decisions?
Well, one thing I think we should keep in mind here is that money is extremely dysregulating emotionally into our physiological state. A lot of us carry a lot of, um, money takes us to some vulnerable places in our lives, right? A lot of shoulds. So often there is a internal dialogue that's coming from a place of responding to danger or feeling defensive, feeling under threat. We're scared. And that's a physiological state of arousal that means that we are in fight or flight mode. And when we're in fight or flight mode, it's really hard for us to be able to kind of reflect on some of those, like in the packet, it was talking about like reflecting on our core values, for example. Like when we're feeling like we are under threat, we are not in a place where we are in touch with our core values. So I would say that one of the first things that we need to do is pay attention to our arousal state, to get present in our bodies, to really try to even work kind of somatically, to take some deep breaths or whatever it takes to bring down that state of arousal. And that's when we are in a position to exercise some of those, to follow our higher angels, if you will, in those moments.
I like that. Follow our higher angels. Andy, like many married couples, you and your wife, Nicole, sometimes have different ideas of money. How do you bring your visions together to work toward common goals?
Yeah, I would say for us personally, and for the couples that I've had a chance to talk to, it comes with just actually making the time for that connection, making time for communication. And I think a lot of us, especially when we get married, maybe we have some kids, we got some busy jobs, we got all these things happening. We don't slow down and take the time to connect with our spouse and make that opportunity for collaboration. Yeah, maybe we won't have the same view on everything, but there's probably a reason we got together with that person in the first place, maybe to compliment us on some of those things we didn't like about ourselves. So maybe we can learn from them by sitting down, truly empathizing, listening, and trying to understand their point of view. And a lot can come from just making the time for those conversations.
Grant, I've heard you say that people should stop budgeting and, rather than budgeting, focus on what has the biggest impact on your savings. What might that look like?
Yeah, I don't say that budgeting doesn't work for everybody, but I tend to think that it makes people focus on kind of the number side of money first, when really you should be thinking about what kind of life do you want to live and how can money help you live that life. And I often tend to see, even in my own relationship, you get down to the dollars and the cents discussion, and that's where you kind of get stuck when and instead talking about life and where you want to be and what you want the money to help you do ultimately is much more inspiring and much more fulfilling. And then figuring out how to use the money that you have and the money that you could make to live that life, as opposed to the other way around. So I don't think that budgeting is necessarily bad. It just tends to be the first place the money conversations start, when it really misses the larger point that money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
How do you think the FIRE movement and value-based spending intersect? Can one enhance the other?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most exciting things about the FIRE movement, just seeing it evolve and spread and become so much bigger than I think any of us could have ever imagined, is that it's really become a choose your own adventure where there's no sort of default sort of picture of someone pursuing financial independence. And that's been, I think, the most beautiful thing, because we all have different dreams, we all have different goals. And I think most importantly, the FIRE movement now is less focused on acquiring a large amount of money, like I did, that can last you for the rest of your life, and much more focused on how do I save for future freedom, but use the freedom that I have today. And so, that's been really cool to see, just because it's a much more sort of present, mindful focus. And to your question around values, I think we're always changing and evolving. And oftentimes, as Andy mentioned, we all move so fast in our life that we often just don't take the time and the space that money has afforded to us to really reflect on who we are and whether we're willing to keep making the trade-off that we've been making for money. And so the nice thing is that money does give you the space and the freedom, if you do take advantage of it, to figure out what you really want. And oftentimes what you want or wanted, a few years ago, might have changed. And just being present to that, is a really empowering space to be.
I like that. Let's go to segment 2.